I'm Juatise Gathings, and it's my absolute pleasure to welcome you to the premiere episode of the new CAN TV original program, Sisters Talking. Each month, Sisters Talking will bring a cross-generational group of Black women together, creating a safe and brave space for honest and vulnerable discussion about the challenges and opportunities and fears and stresses of being Black women. The goal of Sisters Talking is to amplify and explore the lived experience of Black women, the pain, joy, success, failure, and the resulting pathways for growth and self-discovery. Over the next several months, 7 incredible Black women will join me on this film journey of conversation and community self-awareness and self-actualization. Deandra Anderson, Chief Operating Officer. Dee Atkins, Chief of Community Engagement. Ariel Johnson, Business Owner. Dr. Suzette McKinney, Life Science and Real Estate Executive. Mary Morton, CEO. Victoria Rudd, also known as Tori, Senior Community Affairs Manager. And nonprofit executive Nidra Sims Fears. Let's begin this journey together, ladies. Sisters, before we dive into this month's topic, let's just first do a quick temperature check. We'll start with you, Suzette. Counterclockwise around the table we'll go. But tell us, how are you doing today?
You know, I'm doing great today. It's a beautiful day, although I'd prefer that the temperature be a little bit warmer, but other than that, it's a great day.
Well, you look like sunshine.
Well, thank you.
Ariel?
You know what, kids are back in school. I feel like I have my house back and I have been enjoying my home and the peace and the food that I still have in the fridge. So I can't complain.
So their school bellies is back activated?
Yes, back
Okay.
activated.
All right. Ms. Mary?
I'm doing well. I am getting ready to go away for a few days, and so I'm in that rush to get everything done. But I'm really doing.
Where are you
quite
headed,
well.
if you don't mind us asking?
Oh, I'm just going to see a few friends downstate area.
I love a good friend.
Yeah.
Well, yesterday was my birthday, and so I have an identical twin, and
Yes.
so she was in town, and so we celebrated with friends and family. So good day.
Happy birthday.
Yes.
Wow, I feel great today. I'm excited to be here with you ladies. I cannot wait to dive into this conversation. But otherwise, it's wonderful for me.
Tori?
You know, I'm getting back into a routine. I just moved, and we all know what moving does to you, so it feels good to be more settled. I'm looking forward to the holiday break, too.
Yes, it's upon us already. Can't believe it.
Wow.
Dee?
I'm feeling good too. Also excited to be here with all of these women. And I'm also looking forward to the change of season, the colors of the leaves in the fall. So
That's awesome. I feel like the weekend went too fast, but I was so ready for today to spend some time with you all. So thank you guys all for being here and spending time with us.
I'm Gregory Smith, and on the season premiere of Petty and Profound, Darius and I will unpack the drama and trauma that California Governor Gavin Newsom is causing in MAGA world.
Beyond the deliciously satisfying pettiness of Newsom antics lies profound truths and an important reminder never to bring a birthday cake to a gunfight.
So tune in Wednesdays on CAN TV Cable Channel 19, or stream live on cantv.org or on the CAN TV Plus app.
Elevated conversation and storytelling. Experience the power of community television.
On the fall premiere of Chicago Newsroom 2.0, Hugo Balta and city leaders discuss the president's National Guard threats and escalating attacks on Chicago's immigrant communities. Plus, the premiere of the new monthly segment, Inside Oversight with Inspector General Deborah Witzberg. Tune in on Thursday, September 11th at 7 p.m. on CAN TV Cable Channel 19, stream on cantv.org, or on the CAN TV Plus app. Hyper-local news and critical analysis. Experience the power of community television.
All right, thank you so much, sisters. Shall we unpack this month's topic?
Yes.
Let's do
It's
it.
gonna be a good one. All right. It's the phrase that's become part of our cultural lexicon, a rally cry of pride, empowerment, and resilience. Black girl magic. Coined in 2013 by author and educator Kashaw Thompson, Black girl magic was meant to celebrate the beauty, brilliance, and perseverance of Black women and girls in the face of a world that tries too often to diminish them. It's shown up in hashtags, headlines, and even political speeches. But as powerful as it is, some are asking, has Black girl magic also become a double-edged sword? A 2021 study published in the Journal of Counseling Psychology found that while positive cultural messages can enhance self-esteem, it could also create pressure for Black women to appear stronger, flawless, and immune to struggle, feeding into what psychologists call the superwoman. Writer Jamila Lemieux once put it this way: Black girl magic is real, but it's exhausting. We see it in data. Black women experience some of the highest rates of workplace discrimination, birth mortality, and mental health disparities, yet are often expected to carry their families, their communities, and the entire movement on their backs without any pause. So this month we're asking, what does it mean to embrace Black girl magic, and what exactly does it cost us as women? Sisters, let's get into it. You guys ready?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Ready.
So when you think about the term Black girl magics, what does that mean to you personally, and have you ever wrestled with the term and its overall identity? And maybe we'll start at the end of the table with you, Miss Mary.
Well, I don't think I've wrestled with the term. I've embraced the term. I was happy to hear of the term because I think we don't celebrate ourselves enough. And we live in a culture and a society where we are doing it all. We are carrying it all. We are often the heads of households. We are the ones who are really making the elections ideally go in a way that we'd like. Sometimes it doesn't work out, but we are certainly in there doing the work. So I embrace the term, and I was happy to see it come about.
Awesome. Ariel, what are your thoughts?
So I'm number 4 of 5 daughters. And so when the term Black girl magic came to be, it wasn't really a surprise for me. I was used to seeing Black women do really cool things. And as a millennial, we were told we could do anything. I got my reality check when I came to college and entered the workforce. And quite frankly, that magic that I just knew I carried, it was forced to be diminished, and it wasn't necessarily acknowledged by others. And many worked to help dim that light and the magic that I thought I carried. So it was somewhat of a reality check for me when the term actually came to be. But definitely being able to have the privilege of having mentors and women embody what that magic is was significant for me.
Awesome. DeAndrea.
I do embrace the term. It is relatively new. I'm probably a little bit older, but to me, it really is about fortitude. I mean, I think a woman that has courage is one of the strongest things that you can be. Wow. And so having the courage to do what we do is just what we have to do. And so you spoke about it being a double-edged sword. We don't have the luxury of it being a double-edged sword. We die on the sword all the time. And so it's just what we do. But having courage is what gets us through. So the magic to me is the courage behind the woman.
That's beautiful. Snedra.
I think Black girl magic is certainly a double-edged sword, and having carried that sword for many a decade, that sword can get really heavy to carry. But I think that it's also very important because to me it embodies excellence, high achievement, vision, perseverance, and all those things are needed because those things just don't come out of you have to manifest that, and you have to show it and demonstrate it to others so that they understand what it is and what the aim is. So I have an identical twin, and she says, I'm a good woman, but I am one woman. And so I spread that magic over my team so that we all are working hard to make it so, and people aren't watching me do the magic all by myself. It is a team effort.
That's beautiful. Love that. I am one woman. Tori.
When I hear Black girl magic, I think about a couple things. When it first came out, it felt way more easy to accept and like, oh, what is this new thing? This is kind of cool. But I think now the more I hear it, honestly, I think it kind of becomes a little bit more cringy to hear. And I say that because I think it has been kind of utilized by people who want to exploit the magic. And rather than hearing it for the kind of joy that it should bring, sometimes it's like, okay, what's the expectation here? And what extra thing do I have to find within myself to kind of carry out whatever goal you want?
Wow. Dr. Suzette?
You know, it's been really interesting hearing all of your responses. I mean, personally, I embrace the term Black girl magic. I don't see it as a double-edged sword. I also don't associate any negative connotation with the term itself. In my opinion, Black Girl Magic is a state of existence. It was born out of Black women struggling, having to fix everything for everybody, including ourselves. I mean, at the end of the day, we fixed the boardrooms, the staterooms, the back rooms, all the rooms. And I think that it is indicative of all of that work and the struggle that we have gone through in order to fix those things and show up for everyone in our lives, whether it's our children, our parents, our friends, even the men that we love. And honestly, it is Black women doing what we have to do in order to survive, whether that is bringing home the bacon, frying it up in a pan, making a way out of no way, making $1 out of 15 cents. I mean, you name it, we do it. Is it difficult and tiring? Yes. But I think if we can find the balance, then I think we can, get ourselves to the point where we can manage all of the things that come along with that term.
It's interesting to hear the responses around the table. And Tori, you said something that I want to dig into is, what is that line between empowerment and expectation? Obviously, sitting around the table like this and talking about magic, it makes us sparkle a bit on the inside. But when we go out into the world and people leverage that term, and to your point, what comes along with that term, what is that line between empowerment and expectation? How do you navigate that line?
I'll say that the term empowerment is a choice. You choose to, lift and how you move in the world. But expectation, that's sort of almost like a demand. This is something that's almost a requirement of us. And so we're trying to live up in our magic. Yes. We're living up to that expectation because we know that that expectation is upon us, but we don't always necessarily feel the empowerment to be able to perform in such a way. And therein, for me, lies the challenge when it comes to the Black Girl Magic. We can perform it. We can pull the rabbit out of the hat, like I said. But are we empowered to do that? Or are we doing it because of the expectation that we know exists within the magic?
Yes, I'd like to add to that. I really believe empowerment becomes expectation when our choices are taken away.
Wow.
And so we're fully supported, and then our choices are taken away. Then we're expected to do something. And it's a tough situation to be in sometimes.
Yeah. I would agree with that. And I think sometimes we are expected to perform miracles and not necessarily empowered to do so. And then the narrative becomes, well, the thought I should say is, well, can she do it? Can she not do it? And then when we rise to the challenge, then it's like, oh, well, how did she do that? Right. But again, it goes back to just that constant process of us having to struggle, having to fix the problems, having to rise to the challenge time after time after time. And so I think at some point we just get used to it.
Yeah, we do.
We get used to it, I think part of it is trying to manage expectations. I'm always talking about trying to manage expectations with my team. So to your point about being the only one, right? I really want to have more people in that circle with me, understanding that they too can do this work. They too are leaders in the work. In fact, I tried to stop using the term frontline staff and use emerging leaders in my organization. I actually picked that up from someone else I was working with, and I thought I really like that because we're already saying we expect more from you. We know you can do it. We're going to help you do it. We're going to support you. And I think that's something that we do in our Black Girl Magic. I think we understand that we've had to go through certain hoops to get to where we are. And we're going to help you as well. If you want to do it, and in terms of managing expectations, everyone doesn't. Everyone doesn't want to do it.
Yeah. You guys started to hint on something that almost felt supernatural, right? Overly strong, unbreakable. What kind of burden does that carry when you relate that to your mental health? Like, how often are you able to show up not in your magic? And when you don't show up in your magic, how is that received?
Well, when you make the mistake of being vulnerable or transparent, either on either end of the margin, right? So whether I'm frustrated and I'm in a meeting and I'd like to be direct, I can't necessarily show that magic of me actually holding some folks accountable because now I'm aggressive. Or God forbid I shed a tear and now I'm overly emotional, right? And so that's a significant barrier because now I'm feeling the things. I know I'm magic. I know I can get this job done. But now when I want to truly show who I am, I have to pay the price for it as a result. And so it requires a significant amount of having an amazing village and having others who can build into you because it somewhat can feel impossible some days.
Wow. You talked about a village. I remember growing up, I think my mom subconsciously taught me how to be magical, right? She would say things like, you're not better than anybody, but nobody's better than you. She would also let me know that rules that apply to other people, non-people melanated, did not apply to me. And she would always make sure that before I went into the world, there were affirmations or a world of strengths. And I didn't realize it then, but I believe she was trying to build up my grit and resiliency. So no matter what comes my way, that I had this level of confidence internally. And she would always say, this joy that you have, the world didn't give it to you, so don't let them take it away. When I would come home frustrated or upset about something. And I think that was her way of helping me protect my magic before she even knew that it was magical. So let's talk about like our villages a little bit and think through who are the people that help you protect your Black girl magic. An area when you're having those moments, you can't necessarily show that vulnerability in the boardroom per se. Where do you go to be able to be replenished and get back to your magical space?
Yeah, I think that the people who I consider in my village, they'll let me be overwhelmed, but they won't let me overthink. And I think that they help me reach a solution. So in the moments where it feels too much, or I feel like I have to bring too much of myself to the table, that's when they're like, let's just kind of unpack a little bit, and what are you feeling? But at the end of the day, we're not gonna let this last for too long. And I think that that's what makes a really cohesive village.
That's right.
See, my experience was much different. I think growing up, I spent all of my time with my head in a book. And it wasn't until I went away to college. When I went away to college, I tell people all the time, I got a great education academically, but I also got an education about how the world treats Black women.
Wow.
And I was in a university setting where it was not appreciated that I was a Black person in the line of study that I was in, the area of study, alongside most people who were not. I mean, my entire class, I was pre-med track. So there were 3 of us out of hundreds. Wow. And so that was a real education for me. So I had to learn how to suck it up, in a sense, in that setting. And it wasn't until post-college, getting into the workforce, where I began to recognize the beauty and the value of having a village that could help us not overthink, could talk us off the ledge when we're overwhelmed. And so, that's the way that I've gone about cultivating that village. Sure. And it's a mixture, and I'm sure it's similar for all of us. It's family, it's friends, it's self-care, the things that we do for ourselves to help us feel better when we've had a hard day. But I will say this, I don't shy away from showing up strong in any environment, but particularly in the workplace, because I already feel like I'm walking in with this expectation that I'm less than, but even though you're less than, you have to pull out a miracle out of your hat, and so I go in fully knowing that, fully expecting that, and sometimes it doesn't work out, but I also say never let them see you sweat.
That's interesting. So one of my favorite books that I've read was Becoming by Michelle Obama. And she oftentimes talk about some of those similar paces in her journey and her walk. But then she came to this place where she's arrived, she's here. So you talked about kind of that strength that you walk into the room with. Do you remember if there was a moment in time in which you just decided, I'm just magical, this is who I'm gonna be unapologetically and just move forward? Like, what was that experience like, and what was the straw that helped you just become?
So I was in an employment situation where the person who was my supervisor decided to leave the organization and take another job elsewhere. And so his supervisor was looking for someone who could fill in his shoes until the new hire could be made. So I was the person who was asked to fill in the shoes. I filled in the shoes for 9 months.
Wow.
And at the end of the 9 months, when the position was finally about to be hired, I thought to myself, well, I've been doing this job, so I've proven to myself I can do it. I'm pretty sure I've proven to the powers that be that I can do it. And so I inserted myself into the interview process, the hiring process. And somewhere along the line, I learned that another manager, not the hiring manager, this person had nothing to do with this hiring process, but another manager went to the hiring manager and said, you know, if I were you, I wouldn't hire Suzette for that job. She's a great worker bee, but she's not a leader. And when I heard that, I thought, okay, I can show you better than I can tell you. And that was it for me. That was the straw. Because I just felt like, how could someone with no relationship to this process come in and insert their unsolicited opinion, which had her opinion been listened to, it would have completely changed the trajectory of my career. I have never forgotten that. And that was well over 20 years ago. But that was the straw for me.
Wow. You know, it's amazing how the energy around the table shifted as you told that story. I have to imagine many of us can relate to experiences like that in the workplace where our leadership didn't look like what the corporate setting thought it should look like. And whether we were passive leaders or strong leaders, it's almost damned if you do and damned if you don't, right? And so when you think about, you know, whether it's your professionalism, being an activist, showing up as a strong leader in the workplace around the board table, how has your professional experiences shaped your magic, and how has that impacted you all?
I just want to add, it is shaped by that community. And so the people that you surround yourself with are the ones that help you navigate those situations. But I also think it's important to know that your community needs to evolve with your situations.
Wow.
And so we grew up with so-and-so and they are great. We have the same values. We had a good time in life. That might not be the person that I need to talk to about my next role, however. And so as our life situations change, our community needs to evolve to the people that can actually help us navigate the situations that we're in. And that is how I have learned to move forward and be successful in whatever it is I'm trying to do.
Everybody can't go with you.
That's right. That's right. I would agree with that. And I worked for a number of years in nonprofit leadership. I worked for the city of Chicago and then started my own consulting business and really decided that I wanted to have a different vibe. I wanted people to really do well and for me to support them, for them to have a career ladder, if you will. And that meant that on occasions, and this just happened recently, something happened, and I was a little tearful in front of my folks, which they actually wanted to see. Like, they don't think they see enough of me like that. And I am still from that school of, you don't cry, right, in front of folks. I mean, how many times was I told that when I started in my management career? I came out of college and went right into a management career, reading The 1 Minute Manager by Kevin Blanchard, you know, because I didn't have a mentor at that time. And just thinking, you know, you got to show up. You always dress for the role you want, not the role you're in, all those things that you were told. And really trying to create an environment where people actually like each other. And that sometimes is not the case. And they feel that they're being supported and that I am going to, on occasion, when I can, actually be vulnerable in front of them. And that has been something I've had to really lean into. It's not something I do easily, but I've tried to do it, and when it has happened, people really appreciated it.
Awesome.
Well, I want to go back to something that you said, because you mentioned the mental health component of Black Girl Magic and having the village and what that looks like, because I have an example where people saw my Black Girl Magic. It was more than 25 years ago, so the term probably wasn't coined, but the acknowledgement for my greatness was openly acknowledged, not just in the workplace, but also by my family and friends, and they saw sort of, you know, my phoenix rising in a way, and I enjoyed that. But being mindful of how how you live or lean into that magic and what it looks like, so much so that when I did hit a place of struggle in my personal life because of the image that was created by my magic, and that I loved that and the platform that it gave me, I'm the eldest of 5. And so my mom, what she knew is, in my adulthood, she didn't really have to worry so much about me. I was doing well in my career and everything seemed to be fine. And I was performing all of the magic. But when I started to struggle, I hit a roadblock because it was like, no one can know that no one can know that the one with the magic is now struggling.
Right.
And so internally, I dealt with that and no one knew because I masked it. And so all they saw was the magic, me continuing that and having to, on the side, seek therapy so that I could find a coping mechanism to perform with my friends, with my family, show up in the way that my mom always expected or saw me. But it was because I was internalizing that I can't let them see me sweat. And so it wasn't that I didn't have a village. I come from a very large family. It was the image that sometimes created by the magic that if we're not careful in how we lean into it, there can be a disruption where we deal with it and we have to reckon with our mental health in a way, because we don't want anyone to know that sometimes it's not always magic. We just make it look like we just make it look that way.
Well, Dee, I would say that I came to my reckoning when I had a career, got married, had babies, had baby number 2, and baby number 2 was the straw that broke the camel's back. I was a perfectionist, and I said I have to put that label down because it was just too much going on. And so what I learned was that I did go and seek a therapist, and I thought of them as senior mommies, right? That you may not have everybody, but I'll go talk to a therapist. And she just really advised, and I remember having a conversation with my husband and my best friend and her husband, and it's like, you're just carrying too much. And it's like, and she said, your husband has to lean in and do more of his share. And I remember having this conversation with my husband and my best friend and her husband, and her husband looked at him and kind of put his head down like, okay, you just broke the guy code. We're not supposed to sit there and say, oh yeah, she's cooking the bacon, she's bringing home the bacon, she's taking care of kids, she's working 60 hours a week, and now you're supposed to go and help? Oh, hell no. And so being able to peek behind the curtain and say, all of us are in this together, and my mental health, my physical health, my being is such that I really need everyone to step up. And so it was, I think of my girls, I had 2 girls, I de-princessed my house, and I took off my cape.
I would say that is a part of the magic, right? In terms of maybe it's informed by the traumas that we've had in our past or the other experiences that we carry, but we also end up being the nurturers in the room. But I have been in situations where I'm not okay, and I may not have an existing village, but there's been a Black woman who's seen me across the room and she like, come here, let me talk to you really quick. And just because she can see it on me because either she's been there and she gets it. And I feel like that is a part of the magic. And I've always felt so safe when someone has been able to read that on me and pull me aside.
Hi, I'm Bianca Cotton. Join me Mondays at 7 p.m. as I sit in conversation with incredible, dynamic, and complex Chicagoans who peel back the layers, living lessons, the joy, and the pain behind their confident smiles. Join the conversation Mondays at 7 p.m. on CanTV Cable Channel 19 and streaming on cantv.org and CanTV Plus app.
CanTV is the lens through which Chicago's stories are told, harnessing the unifying power of community television. With CanTV On Demand, immerse yourself in the richness of our city through exclusive stories and programs tailored just for you, connecting you to the heartbeats of our streets, the voices of our people, and the spirit that makes Chicago unique. Discover the strength of your community on CAN TV On Demand.
You know, we talked a little bit about humanity, and I'm just sitting here reflecting on just conversations I often have with family and friends that I think I struggle even within myself, allowing myself to be human, right? Sometimes I feel like, you know, God has me on this amazing journey, so there should be this ray of sunshine and joy. But sometimes at night, it's just like, it's hard for me to admit and say, I need help, or I'm struggling with this. And maybe, you know, when I'm with my therapist, et cetera, I become a little bit more vulnerable. But what is that thing? And I think Nidra touched on it a little bit, that stops us from leaning on our support systems in times when we need it the most, and not allowing ourselves to have to feel superhuman.
Well, I want to tell you a quick story. I have a group of girlfriends, and we travel together at least twice a year. We don't live in the same city. We don't talk every day. I knew one from college. We've come up with all kind of silly things. But when we go away, we have catch up. And catch up is where we are sitting in the ocean somewhere, dumping it all out. And what we don't have is the judgment of the friend that knows how we would respond in a situation, or, you know, the sister who knows you always say that, or whatever those things are. But we dump so many things on each other, and it literally is better than therapy to me. I can say anything, and they're not like, girl, did you think that? But instead they're like, I understand, I have thought it before too. And so the idea that there is a group of women that exists on this earth that for real knows it all. When I'm ashamed to tell somebody something that I thought about, or I didn't succeed at something that I thought was gonna go well, that's where I dump it, right there in the ocean. We dump it with each other. It is the best thing I have ever come up with.
That's great.
Wow, that's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think, you know, back to what you were saying, Dee, just having to deal with, you know, this, I guess I would call it stigma, you know, when there are cracks in the surface, you know, what are people going to think? I relate to that. And I feel that also. I mean, because how many times have we all known that, oh, I have to do this perfectly because if I don't, I'm going to get all this criticism, you know? And I feel the same way about, you know, the crying. I will not let anyone say. I have been known to walk out of my office, get in my car, and drive down the expressway long enough to let it flow, and then I just turn around and go back. You know, but that became a way for me to deal with the pressure, because sometimes the pressure in a day is so great, and you know, there may not be anyone like you sitting across the room. And so in those types of situations, I've just felt like sometimes I have to extricate myself, even if it's for 10 minutes. But I have to remove myself from the environment, take a deep breath, in whatever form, and come back. Because the pressure can be so great, and the last thing we want to do is crumble under that pressure.
Ariel said something that I think is true for me as well. In times in which I've struggled the most, it's been Black women who can recognize it, and I think there's something so comforting about having an experience that you don't have to explain, and just simple words is enough for them to understand exactly what you need to hear to pick yourself up and push yourself forward. What have those women, and how do you show up for other women like that? I know for me, I seek out women who are going through tough times. I remember, you know, sitting on the couch when our girl, Madam Harris, lost, right? And I was just like, I wish I could just talk to her. Like, I wish I could just, not that I would tell her anything more profound than anybody else in her circle, but it's an experience I understood, the disappointment, the hurt, the sadness that comes along with those type of journeys that doesn't have to be explained to us as Black women, whereas any other demographic that I oftentimes have to tell, well, I'm going through this or this is happening, because I have a very diverse group of friends, it's just a different feeling. What is that feeling like for you, and how do you recognize that in other women when they have that silent pain?
I think simply saying, I know. Like in the moment, and we know when they are, when you look at somebody in the eye and you say, I know. And you can just hug them if it's appropriate or whatever that is, or you just across the table or wherever you are. But at the end of the day, as human beings, we want acknowledgement. And when somebody acknowledges that feeling, it's like almost taking another breath of fresh air to me.
That's awesome.
I would just say that I unfortunately didn't have some of those experiences when I was coming out of college, going into my initial career. I did not have Black women who were around me and supporting me. I have it now, and I've had it for many years, but certainly not immediately out of school. And what I realized overall is that often people just want someone to listen to them. You don't have to fix it. And I'm a fixer. We for a while were calling our team gladiators. We go in, fix things, we'll handle it. And I don't have to do that in my life, although I have to really make a concerted effort not to, because I want to make it better. That's what I do. And acknowledging that people just want you to hear them, just to listen to them.
Yeah.
That's often enough.
Yeah. I think vulnerability without the fear of perception or how whatever you say will be received is powerful. And I think that a lot of times when we are seeking a mentor, especially as a mentee, you need someone else to say, I've been there, or I can relate to this, and let me share my experience with you. And that to me is why Black women, we click so easily. But because that also means that just because I'm being vulnerable right now, that does not mean I'm not confident. And that does not mean that I know my confidence. And so if that is being perceived as anything other than, are you weak right now? Like, no, I'm just going through it, but I know I will get through it. And I think that's the kind of through line.
That's awesome. So Tori, you are the youngest of this esteemed panel, and you're not here by coincidence. I have so much respect for your perspective. When you think about sitting around the table with your younger girlfriends, how does this conversation show up?
I think to my last point, it takes someone saying, here's what I'm going through. And it also takes someone maybe sometimes to just set like community norms, like this is a safe space. And actually, before we get into it, do you even want to discuss this? Or, are you at a time period where you can openly talk about this? Whatever it is, let me just make space for you to be vulnerable first. And I think I have a wonderful group of friends. And I think that because we have kind of stuck together from my best friend, I've been best friends with her for over 20 years at this point. So I feel confident enough to say whatever my truth is, but I would feel that way towards anyone because I'm a confident person. So I don't necessarily consider what your opinion is on my specific situation if that's not what I asked you for. Sometimes it's just, I need a listening ear.
That's beautiful. I think about the moment in which we're living in where, Blackness as a whole seems to be under attack, and to call it out and to stand in our individuality as Black women sometimes is very offensive to others, is a nice way of putting it. But when you think about this moment that we're living in, how do we continue to protect Black girl magic? And how do we continue to make sure that it's not something that's just a moment in time, but something that we're oftentimes awakened to? When I think about the data, and if we follow the data, more now than ever, Black women are unemployed at a higher rate. Right. A lot of us assume the role of being great faces during the moment of 2020 and being, chief diversity officer to put in leadership positions. But now that seems to be an unpopular opinion, it's really taking a few steps back. What does this moment mean for us as Black women, and how do we continue to push forward? And many of us around the table have gone through career changes and transitions, and oftentimes impacted by this very thing that we talk about. How do we carry that?
I think it starts with our own community first. And sometimes there are hard conversations that are required for us to, as Black women, to make sure that we're elevating the magic in our sisters, and as Black men, that they are also amplifying our magic as well, and that we're not just expected, that we're also empowered. We saw it in the civil rights movement. There's a lot of people who work behind the scenes and a lot of folks who did what was expected, but were not necessarily empowered. And so I think that we have to lead with that first before we even start talking about anyone else recognizing or supporting our magic. And there have been times where people at this table have said my name in rooms that I'm not in. More of that. That's when it starts to happen at a massive level, right? And so there are women who have done exceptional things that we wouldn't even imagine, but a lot of people that may have looked like her worked against that elevation. And so we have to have those conversations first.
I think the moment absolutely requires those conversations, but I think the moment requires some specificity in those conversations as well. Because just like our very essence and appearance is offensive to some, some of those people that are offended are within our own communities.
That's exactly right. Yes.
And we need to
That's
talk
right.
about that.
That's right.
You know,
Yep.
we need to talk about it, and we need
That's
to
right.
obtain a better understanding of why that is. You know, it goes back to what we were saying earlier. Sometimes when you're going places, everybody cannot go because everybody is not going to provide the support and the empowerment that you need to get to the destination that you're trying to reach. And so the conversation has to be raw, it has to be honest, and it has to be specific. And I think that that's one of the challenges of the current environment that we're living in. But I think from my perspective, in terms of maintaining that magic, there are enough people outside saying, you're not this, you're not that, you're not good enough, so on and so forth. And so for me, it's about hunkering down and doing the work to undergird myself and other women like me and remind us all that you are good enough. You are whatever it is you want to be. And so I haven't taken a position of being completely silent, but I have taken a position of you know, doing that internal work, like undergirding myself, because let's be real, this world is not always kind to Black women. The world does not always treat us with dignity and respect. And so sometimes, you know, whether it's your therapist, your village, or internally, you have to do the work. And so that's where I am in this moment. I'm not just doing the work, I'm doing some extra work. Because I want to have some stuff built up for the next time somebody tries to tell me that I'm not worthy or that I'm not good enough.
Internalized racism is real.
Absolutely.
Internalized sexism is real. And so to not acknowledge it, it's just not, it's not a reality. And when you talk about, as I said, I didn't have Black women as a support group coming out of college. And in fact, I'm really a longtime activist, and I had women who really came after me because they just assumed I was being used. They didn't know anything about me, but they brought me into a room and really just went at me. And this is a group of Black women in my early, you know, mid to late 20s. And it was heartbreaking to recover from something like that and know that I was doing the right thing. I was doing good work. And I always believe if I can get up every morning and look myself in the face and be content, I'm going to keep moving forward. But it is not always, it's not always the way that we wish it were, or that we have been led to believe it can be.
So what does doing the work look like tangibly for those who are listening? Like, what are some of those routines that you practice to make sure you're not pouring from an empty cup?
That you breathe through it. So I am a community activist, like from being buttoned up in the boardroom around the table with elected officials and all that, to rolling up my sleeves and, you know, just being out and about on all sides of the city. I'm here and I am there, and it can be exhausting. I also do work that requires me to pour a lot in on topics around white privilege, leadership privilege, with not everyone agreeing with some of the information that's being shared, and offering a diplomatic response to those answers when, in essence, it's like, I know you didn't just say what I think you just said. And so, you know, offering a response that's adequate to the audience, and then coming from all of that work and feeling completely deflated and saying, okay, my cup is empty, but there's an expectation that I need to wake up tomorrow and do it again. So what that looks like for me is calling on someone, be it from my village or from my circle of people that also do this work, or someone who, to what DeAndrea said, will say, I know. Who can I get on the line to talk me through what I'm feeling right now, because I am empty and I need to pour out more tomorrow, and I need to be ready to pour. But right now, I'm not there. So being honest with how I'm feeling and making those calls to be able to say, do you have time for lunch? A quick phone call, just to build me up. Again, I'm no less confident or talented in what I do, but just owning that I still need to be filled up. My cup still needs to be filled before I can pour out more into someone else. So we have to just have a self-reckoning that we love what we do, but we can't always do it to its fullest potential if we're not where we should be. But there have also, I must admit, there have also been times where I've been completely empty and still filled someone else's cup. So if that is not magic,
I don't know what it is.
Pull a trick from the hat.
Can I just say I have been in the boardroom with Dee, leading some of these conversations. She's a master at it, but I think I've learned to read her at this point. It's all in the eyes. Like, I can make eye contact with her and know exactly what she's thinking in that moment. Having heard, an off-color comment or two, but it's masterful the way she does it, but sometimes it's necessary as well. So,
it is. And in turn, Suzette, having her being one of the people where it's like, girl, it helps. It really helps to have that lifeline to be able to pour into you.
It's funny you say that. I can have a full conversation with any of my girlfriends without even saying a word.
Absolutely.
Body language, the eyes, the energy, the response, and it's so magical when you experience that happening. What else do we have in our self-care toolkit around the table?
I mean, I think that we have to be constant learners. I mean, Dee is talking about all the things that she's doing. Learning sometimes comes from books, but a lot of it comes from the experiences that you have and the people that you surround yourself with. And so we can't stop learning. I mean, I'm learning a lot from Tori because we are from different generations. I'm like, I never thought about that way. But it is enlightening, and that's really what it is. To be enlightened by other people's experiences that you may not have had is really what helps us to continue to evolve, so that we have the right tools in the toolkit. So we're not using something we got from 1970 and in 2025, where that tool is just a little rusty.
I'm in the process of educating my household how to care for me. And when I'm trying to care for myself. Seriously. So my 15-year-old thinks that I am just at his disposal at all times of the day. I could be walking in the house on a call and he's asking questions, and where's this and where's this, and mom, sleeping in the shower, mom. And so this is my quiet time right now. And what I need is for you to go and get me some water, to go take the dog out, to go do this and XYZ. And I've been really intentional on articulating to him when either I need to care for myself or I need him to do something for me. Because as long as I continue to be caped up at home, then I'm really not gonna have a safe space to recharge and go back into the world. And my fiance just met a whole new person recently when I'm just like, no, I ain't got it right now. Y'all need to figure that out and come back and let me know. So that's been really big for me as I've tried to set those boundaries in my household.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
I'm gonna say that for me, I agree with everything it's been said, but faith is really important.
Yes,
I remember
absolutely.
when I was, in my early 20s, and I had never heard the scripture that, we're made in God's image. And so it's like, if God is a black woman, then she's got my back.
That's right.
And so I always think of that if she is all powerful, all knowing, then I am she and she is me. And I can wear that cloak of armor that I can get through it, because as the old folks say, God has not brought you this far to turn you around. And I'm not being turned around. And so having that family support, having that faith is just really important, because to me it's that bedrock on which you stand.
I think one of the things that I'm developing now is getting clear in my yeses, but even clearer in my no's. And because it really makes me think like, okay, is this really aligned with what I'm doing in the moment and what I want to do in the future? And then if it's a no, then how am I communicating that? Am I really saying all of the words that are necessary, even especially when it's a tough conversation? Because that's when the boundaries really have to be set. And that's when I'm kind of proving to myself my own self-worth.
Wow.
It occurs to me that as much as we're told that we're not good enough or we're not better than, I can speak for myself, but I'm sure that sitting around this table, how many people, let's just say in the last 6 months, have you gotten a phone call or an email or a text message from wanting to pick your brain?
Oh my goodness.
The pick my brain calls come constantly. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. I thought you said that I wasn't good enough to do this, but now you want to pick my brain. And so, like you, Tori, I am getting clear about my yeses, but even clearer about my nos. So, you know, when I recognize that someone only wants to use me for the knowledge that I have or whatever it is I have that they're looking for, the position that I'm in, I am learning how to protect myself from those things.
I would agree with that. I think, part of my role in my consulting group is to talk to a lot of folks, and they do want to pick my brain, but it's also clear when they haven't done their work so that they can pick my brain, right? So that they have not really come prepared with any questions. Right. They've come with maybe an idea, but really haven't given it any thought, but want me to give a lot of time in terms of talking to them, giving them ideas and suggestions, which I'm happy to do when you've done your work, because somebody did that for me somewhere along the line. And so I'm always happy to pass it on, but it's so important that people do their own work. So I too have become better just about even my time being scheduled. I don't know about you, but during COVID, I was being scheduled so tightly that I wasn't even having lunch. I said, do I not get lunch? No, I'd like a lunch break in here somewhere. And ending meetings a little bit shorter, having 50-minute meetings, having 45-minute meetings. But I've had to really say, these are the guardrails, these are the bumpers that we're gonna put up, because I do need to take care of myself and I need a break.
Wow. Well, ladies, we have had a fantastic discussion, and I can't tell you how excited I am to spend the next few months with you all unpacking more of this conversation. For me, as a woman standing in my fullness, it's always amazing to be gathered with other amazing Black women that you can learn from, and also just a reminder, having Tori and others around the table, about what our responsibility is to make sure we stand in our magic so the future generations can stand in theirs too. So hopefully our listeners have gleaned something from this conversation, and we look forward to seeing them again next month.
I'm Curtis Tarver, inviting you to tune into the season premiere of Brothers Talking, a monthly program that brings together a cross-generational group of Black men, creating a brave space for honest, fearless discussion about the issues and challenges and opportunities for growth experienced by Black men. Join the conversation on CAN TV, Cable Channel 19, or stream online at cantv.org or the CAN TV Plus app. Elevated conversation and storytelling. Experience the power of community television.
For more than 40 years, CAN TV has been Chicago's voice, your voice. We've shared your stories, amplified your concerns, and celebrated your triumphs. Now we want to hear from you. What programs matter most? What issues should we cover? How can we better serve your community? Visit cantv.org/feedback today. CAN TV. Experience the power of community television.
Tonight's conversation reminded us that while Black Girl Magic started as a celebration, it's also a reflection of something much deeper. A history of strength, yes, but also of unspoken burdens and unrealistic expectations. What we heard from the sisters is clear. Black women are not superheroes. They are human beings with the right to rest, to vulnerability, and to be seen in their full complexity, not just their resilience. It's time we challenge the notion that strength means suffering in silence, that magic means making the impossible look easy, and that being celebrated means never asking for help. As we leave this conversation, let's carry forward not just the pride, but the permission to be whole, to be honest, and to redefine what it means to actually thrive. Because true magic lives in authenticity and in the freedom to fully become unapologetically yourself. That's our time for this month, but fear not. The sisters and I will be coming back to the table next month for another hour of conversation and community. Thank you so much for making space for CAN TV and Sisters Talk in your day. I'm Juatise Gathings, and until next time, protect your peace and remember that rest is resistance. Thank you, ladies, so much.
Thank you.